Have you ever stopped to think that certain habits in your daily life might be fueling negative spiritual presences around you? Have you ever felt a kind of heaviness in the air, as if something were watching, sucking your strength, draining your energy, weakening your will without explanation? And worse, the more you repeat these habits, the more this feeling intensifies, as if you were trapped in an invisible cycle. But what if I told you this is no coincidence? What if, in fact, there are spiritual beings who take advantage of these gaps, who feed on your emotions, your pain, your anger, your low vibration? Today, we're going to delve into delicate but necessary territory. We're going to talk about the 8 habits that spiritual obsessors love. And be careful, I'm not saying this to scare you, but rather to warn you, because many of these behaviors seem harmless, but when they become routine, they open real portals inside and outside of you. And when these portals open, low-frequency spiritual entities approach, connect, and feed on your energy field. Have you ever felt like your house was heavy? Like your ideas were jumbled? Like your motivation had suddenly disappeared? Well, yes, you may be feeding this kind of presence without even realizing it. Have you ever noticed that there are days when everything seems to go wrong? Nothing flows, your mood swings, your body aches, even without physical exertion. And on top of that, conflicts arise with those closest to you. This can all have a spiritual origin. The invisible world interacts with our reality constantly, and it doesn't need words. All it takes is a repeated habit, an unresolved energy, an unhealed feeling, and voila. It's as if you've put up a no-entry sign for forces that don't want to see you well, and that's precisely what we're going to talk about today. Before continuing, leave your comment here. Do you believe that some daily habits can attract spiritual obsessions? Have you ever had a strange experience where everything seemed out of place? Share your story with us below. It might help others who are experiencing the same thing without understanding why. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. This is crucial so that we can continue to explore together the mysteries, myths, and truths about spirituality, the invisible energies that surround us, and how to protect ourselves from them. Returning to our topic, you might ask yourself, but why me? I don't do anything out of the ordinary. And therein lies the danger, because these habits aren't necessarily malicious or violent acts. More often than not, they're emotional and behavioral patterns that seem normal, but which over time dim your inner light. And when your light dims, the shadow approaches. Often a simple negative thought repeated daily is enough to fuel an obsessive process. Sometimes it's unresolved anger, resentment held for years, guilt that's never been addressed, constant victimization, addiction to conflict, a lack of inner silence, continuous criticism, a lack of forgiveness. These behaviors, when they become habits, create cracks in our spiritual field, and spiritual obsessors are experts at detecting these cracks. They approach subtly, first by draining some of your energy, then by influencing you with destructive thoughts. And before you know it, you're caught in a cycle of repetition from which you can't escape on your own. Have you ever wondered why certain problems recur in your life, even when you try to change? Have you noticed how there always seems to be an opposing force pulling you back, as if something were sabotaging you, keeping you from peace, prosperity, and clarity? The truth is that the spiritual influences the physical and emotional more than we realize. And the more we ignore this, the more vulnerable we become. What if I told you that many of your deepest fears, insecurities, and anxieties might not be yours alone? That some of this might be amplified by an external energy that connected to your field because of a habit you didn't even realize you were cultivating? Scary? Yes, but necessary. The good news is that all of this can be stopped. From the moment you become aware of the habits that fuel these presences, you also become capable of breaking this cycle, of clearing your energy, of closing the portals, of regaining control of your spiritual life. But this only begins with knowledge and awareness. And that's exactly what you'll find here. Today, we'll reveal the most dangerous habits one by one, the ones that most attract spiritual obsessors, and you'll be able to honestly analyze how many of these are present in your daily life, how many do you repeat without realizing it, and most importantly, what can you do to change this before these presences gain even more strength? Stay with me until the end, because this video could be the beginning of a major spiritual shift in your life. But before we get to the full list, I want to reiterate, if this topic resonates with you, like this video, share it with someone you think needs to hear it, and turn on the notification bell. The more people awaken to this reality, the more spiritually protected they will be. And that's our purpose here. Now that you understand the invisible risks that certain habits pose to your energy, it's time to reveal the 8 main ones. But that's a topic for the second part of this video. Now that you understand how certain behaviors can open invisible breaches in your energy field, it's time to reveal what truly attracts spiritual obsessors. And remember, the more you become aware, the more you regain your power. The first habit may seem simple, but it's one of the most dangerous. Living in constant complaint. You know that person who complains about the weather, work, traffic, life, everything? The energy of complaint is like a bitter perfume that exudes and attracts low-vibration beings. Because complaining without seeking a solution is like creating a continuous field of negativity, where obsessors feel at home. They draw closer and amplify this feeling, whispering more reasons to complain until you become a prisoner of your own dissatisfaction. The second habit, holding on to resentment. Resentment is an open wound in the spirit. It's a slow poison that intoxicates your soul. Spiritual obsessors connect with unresolved pain because hurt vibrates at the perfect frequency for them to feed, and until you let go of the past, you remain chained to it, spiritually vulnerable. Understand, not forgiving keeps the presence of whoever hurt you alive within you, and this energy is an invitation for unwelcome presences. Third habit, messy and dirty environments. Believe me, the spiritual plane is sensitive to the organization of your physical space. External disorder reflects internal disorder. Cluttered, unclean places with accumulated objects attract dense energies. They're like nests of stagnation, where obsessors settle, hide, and multiply. And the most dangerous thing is that you begin to think it's normal to live in this chaos. But spiritually, this environment is making you sick. The fourth habit is chronic victimhood. That everything happens to me, no one helps me, I'm always the one who's been harmed mindset. This energetic pattern is one of the most open doors to negative spiritual influence, because when you constantly portray yourself as a victim to the world, you give away your power. And obsessors love this. They know that without personal power, you become more fragile, more confused, and more dependent on external validation. The fifth habit is the excessive consumption of violent or negative content. Have you ever noticed what you've been watching, reading, or listening to? Heavy news, crime series, arguments, gossip, all of this feeds your field with dense energy. And the more you engage with these vibrations, the more you attune yourself to spiritual presences that vibrate at the same frequency. Make no mistake, what you consume consumes you. Sixth habit, feeding addictions. Addictions aren't just drugs or alcohol, they are compulsive patterns that take away your control. Mindless eating, spending to fill a void, endlessly scrolling through social media to escape reality. These repetitive and unconscious behaviors open up true spiritual gaps, because every moment you disconnect from yourself, you become susceptible to other influences, and obsessors are experts at exploiting your weaknesses. Seventh habit, gossip and judgment. When you speak ill of others, when you criticize behind their backs, when you judge without knowing the full story, you are vibrating at the frequency of separation and spiritual inferiority. And this opens enormous doors for obsessors to connect with you. because judgment is the denial of compassion, and where there is no compassion, there is spiritual emptiness, and where there is emptiness, they enter. And finally, the eighth habit, denying your own spirituality, ignoring your connection with the divine, with your essence, with your intuition, living on autopilot, without seeking evolution, without questioning the invisible. This leaves you spiritually unprotected, because without an inner light lit, you walk in the dark, and in the dark, any shadow can reach you. Spiritual obsessors take advantage of spiritual ignorance. They infiltrate where awareness is lacking. These are the 8 most common habits that fuel negative spiritual presences. And perhaps you're asking yourself, I have some of these habits. What do I do now? Calm down. Recognizing them is the first step to liberation. No one is free from mistakes. But remaining unconscious, that is dangerous. If you feel this message resonated, share it with someone who also needs to know this. And leave a comment. Of these 8 habits, which have you identified in your life? Have you ever had a spiritual experience that might be linked to one of these behaviors? Your story could be the key someone else needs to awaken. And don't forget, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, click the red button now. It's free and helps us continue bringing you deep, serious, and transformative content about spirituality, energies, and spiritual protection. In the next part, we'll show you how to identify when an obsessor is really influencing you and what you can do to protect yourself, clear your energy, and close these gaps. Stick around, because what follows will open your eyes like never before. And when these habits become routine, it's as if you left the door to your house open in the middle of the night, hoping nothing bad would come in. But the invisible doesn't ask permission. It watches, it senses, and when it finds gaps, it enters without you noticing. And then the torment begins. Have you ever felt a presence even when you're alone? Have you ever felt a chill that runs through your body as if something were touching you, even when no one is around? Have you ever had that strange sensation that something is watching you in the dark? Or suddenly a reasonless anguish, a fear that springs up out of nowhere, a discouragement that weighs on your shoulders as if the whole world were upon you? These are silent signals, but powerful. Signs that spiritual obsessors may be at work around you. They feed on your energy, drain your vitality, and turn small situations into major storms. And worst of all, they are patient. They don't always act directly. Sometimes they just observe. They wait for the moment of greatest fragility, when your faith is low, when fear is high, when you forget who you are. And do you know what they love most? When you keep quiet. When you harbor hurts, resentments, unhealed pain, when you let the light of your spirit fade and start living on autopilot, without praying, without connecting with the divine source that protects you. But now that you are awakening, now that your spiritual eyes are beginning to see, it's time to take back control of your energy. It's time to start cleansing, protecting, and shielding your spiritual field. Start by observing your home. Your home is a reflection of your soul. Cluttered, dirty, and overly dark places accumulate stagnant energy. Perform a deep cleanse. Remove broken objects, unused items, and clothes that bring back bad memories. Light an incense stick of myrrh, rue, or white sage and walk calmly through the house, praying or visualizing light. The smoke helps break density. Prayer breaks bonds. You can also take a cleansing bath. Take a handful of coarse salt, rue leaves, and rosemary. Boil everything, and once lukewarm, pour it from the neck down. As the water runs, imagine all the negative energy draining down the drain, returning to the earth to be purified. Another powerful practice is a prayer of protection upon waking and before bed. Nothing sophisticated. It just needs to be sincere. Speak to God, your protectors, your guides of light. Ask for discernment, protection, and strength. You can say something simple like, Lord, remove from me every disturbing spirit, every invisible obsessor. May only light be with me today. May no evil energy come near me or my home. Amen. And remember, be careful what you consume. Music laden with negative words, violent films, content that arouses fear, anger, or excessive desire. All of these can lower your vibration and facilitate the approach of obsessors. What you hear, see, and repeat creates frequencies within you. Choose wisely what you let in. Another simple but very powerful ritual is to keep a glass of water with coarse salt behind your bedroom door. Change it every 7 days. This water absorbs the density of the environment. When disposing of it, never pour it down the sink. Pour it directly onto the ground or into the toilet, visualizing all negativity being dissolved. And last but not least, watch your thoughts and your words. Every time you harbor fear, envy, or judgment, you strengthen your connections with these invisible presences. But every time you forgive, practice gratitude, and praise instead of criticizing, you create a field of light so strong that no shadow dares approach. And now, tell me in the comments, have you ever felt any of these spiritual signs? Have you ever felt your energy being sucked as if someone had drained your soul, even without any physical explanation? Comment here, I recognize the signs, because only those who recognize them can free themselves. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. It's crucial for us to continue exploring together the mysteries of spirituality, the mystical signs, and the invisible energies that surround us. Activate the bell, because the next videos will bring powerful revelations that can change the way you see the world. Stay tuned, because we'll reveal them soon. What obsessors fear most, and how to get them out of your life once and for all.